My daughter tricked me into signing over my ranch, then sold it to a developer and moved to the city. I found a loophole in the zoning permit, bought the land next door, and built a pig farm, close enough to send a daily reminder of where she came from. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you how everything happened. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you are watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. I always said the land spoke if you knew how to listen. Some folks think that kind of talk's just sentimental crap, but I don't care much what folks think anymore. Every inch of this ranch, Lone Cedar, we called it, had its own memory. The stretch of creek down by the southern edge, where my wife and I used to fish in the evenings. The old elm tree near the barn where Lily took her first steps. Hell, even the rusted tractor out back that hadn't run since '03 felt like an old friend. I'd wake up every morning with the sun licking the top of the hills, sip my coffee on the porch, and think, this is where I belong. Right here. Boots in the dirt. Skin tanned by work, not leisure. Lily came home from college one spring, diploma fresh in her hand, big city light in her eyes. She brought along some thick air of knowing, like the world had cracked open and whispered secrets only she could hear. I didn't blame her. She was smart, always had been. And after her mama passed, I knew I couldn't raise her with just calloused hands and ranch wisdom. So I let her fly, gave her the space to chase a future that didn't smell like manure or depend on rainfall. "Dad," she said one morning, sitting across from me at the kitchen table, a stack of documents laid out between us. "This could really help you. It's just refinancing, nothing major. Lower rates, fewer headaches. Let me take care of it." She smiled then, that same crooked smile she had when she was 5, and tried to blame the dog for the broken vase. My gut twisted, just a little. The words sounded clean and smooth, but something underneath felt rehearsed. I didn't want to doubt her. Didn't want to. I just wanted her to feel like this place could still be hers if she ever wanted it. "All right, Lil," I said, pulling the pen from its holster and scribbling my name across the line. "If you think it's best." She leaned over and hugged me tight, and for a minute, I let myself believe that all was well, that maybe this was her way of coming home. The following days slipped into routine. She stayed a week longer, helping with the books, taking long walks out to the pasture, sometimes even feeding the horses like she used to. I started to imagine a different future, one where maybe Lily saw the beauty in the land again, where she might even decide to stay, take the reins when my hands finally gave out. It was the kind of foolish hope only a father clings to, especially one who's been carrying loss like a stone in his chest for years. Then she left. Said she had job interviews lined up, promised to be back soon to finalize some things. I watched her taillights vanish down the dirt road and felt something hollow stretch out in my ribs. A week later, a man in a blazer too clean for this county knocked on my door. "Mr. Barnes?" he asked, all business and no soul. "I represent a development firm that now owns this property. You have 30 days to vacate." I stood there, blinking, thinking he must have gotten the address wrong. But no. He handed me copies of the signed paperwork, my signature staring back at me like a curse. The land, my land, was now legally in the name of Lily Barnes. And she had sold me, without a word. The man left. I didn't move. I sat back down at the kitchen table where she had laid out those damn papers and felt the blood drain from my face. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. I was something worse, numb, like a fuse had blown in my chest. The next few weeks passed like a slow funeral. I packed up the things I could carry. The rest I left: tools, feed, memories soaked into the wood. The new owners came with blueprints and drones. My neighbors stared like I'd betrayed them. I didn't correct them. I didn't say anything at all. At night, I'd lie in bed at the cheap motel off Route 7 and hear the echo of Lily's voice. "This could really help you." I couldn't decide if she believed that, or if she'd been lying to both of us. Either way, she had my land, and I had nothing but time. And a burning question: what kind of daughter does this to her father? Grief is strange. It doesn't always wear the face of death. Sometimes, it shows up in betrayal, with the same weight, the same silence, the same hollowing out. I grieved the loss of my ranch like I had grieved my wife. Only this time, the loss had a face that still smiled in my memories. a voice that still called me Dad. I tried staying out of town, thinking maybe distance would help the wound scab over. But you can't outrun whispers in a place like ours. I heard them everywhere, from the cashier at the hardware store to the old men nursing beers at the VFW hall. Heard Hank finally cashed out. Guess even he had a price. Shame. Thought he was one of the last holdouts. They didn't know. They didn't want to know. Folks like stories with clean lines. Hero turns villain, the land gets paved, and progress marches on. I let them believe it. What else could I do? Go door to door begging them to understand my daughter had tricked me, that I hadn't sold out. I'd been sold off. I drove out to the edge of the property once, parked by the barbed wire fence that still had my initials burned into the posts. It looked different already. The old barn was gone, demolished in a pile of lumber and dust. Yellow machines clawed at the earth like it had done something wrong. Big signs went up. Willow Ridge, luxury living in the heart of nature. I nearly laughed. Heart of nature, my ass. They were cutting down the orchard. The same one Lily used to play in while her mama picked apples for pie. That's when the anger finally took root, slow and mean, like kudzu crawling through your bones. She hadn't just sold the ranch. She'd sold our history, our blood, sweat, and tears wrapped up in a bow for some developer's bottom line. I tried calling her. I did. Once. She didn't answer. Left me a short voicemail a week later. Hey, Dad. Sorry I missed you. Things have been crazy with the move. I hope you're settling okay. We'll talk soon, okay? Love you. That love you hit different. It sounded obligatory. Like a signature. Like signing the bottom of a letter she didn't care to write. I started sleeping in my truck. Couldn't stand the motel anymore, stale air, blinking neon, the hum of nothing worth hearing. Out on the road, I could at least see the stars. I'd sit out by the tailgate, stare up at the sky, and wonder how far a father's love could stretch before it snapped. One night, I pulled out the old lockbox I kept in the glove compartment. Inside were documents from the county, permits, tax notices, maps. I don't know why I kept them. Maybe out of habit. Maybe because I couldn't let go. That's when I noticed something strange. The zoning permit for Willow Ridge. It listed the land as residential development pending environmental clearance. That sounded normal. But the fine print, the fine print, told another story. New residential properties couldn't be built within a certain distance of commercial agriculture operations, particularly livestock. A spark lit behind my eyes. I stared at the map again. There was still one plot next to my old land that hadn't been sold. A narrow stretch of rough soil and scrub trees. Worthless to most. But not to me. I drove straight to the county office the next morning. It took everything I had left in savings, but I bought that plot, every last inch of it. By the end of the week, I had a name filed with the state, Barnes Heritage Livestock, and I knew exactly what kind of animal I'd raise. Pigs. Not just any pigs. Loud, hungry, stinking pigs. The kind that would make sure no one who bought a luxury villa in Willow Ridge would ever forget where they really were. I wasn't looking for revenge, not exactly. I was looking for something solid to stand on. Something that said, I'm still here. You don't get to erase me. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted Lily to smell it every day. To know that no matter how far she tried to run, this land, this man, this legacy, it would follow. The first pig squealed like it knew exactly what it was doing. A high, proud sound that cut through the morning fog and settled like an omen across the hills. I stood there, hands on my hips, breathing in the stink of it all like a man drinking wine. It was terrible. It was perfect. The land I bought wasn't much to look at. Rocky, uneven, choked with stubborn weeds. But it bordered the northeast edge of what used to be my ranch, now covered with steel skeletons of model homes. Every nail they hammered into the ground was a heartbeat I used to feel. And now, every grunt and squelch from the pig pen felt like payback, wrapped in mud. I hired a couple local boys who didn't ask questions. Paid in cash, under the table. We built the fencing in a weekend, rigged together a makeshift barn out of old shipping containers and leftover sheet metal. It didn't need to be pretty. It just needed to function, and function loudly. The pigs arrived in a rattling trailer from a breeder 2 counties over. I made sure to get boards and sows that had reputations noisy, messy, mean. The kind that rooted deep and weren't shy about making themselves known. By week's end, the farm was operational. I registered with the county, filed every permit, every environmental compliance form. I wasn't just making noise, I was making it legal. The stink hit first. Even I wasn't prepared for how fast it traveled. Pig shit carries on the wind like a sermon, and the breeze didn't discriminate. The houses closest to the fence were still in the luxury brochure phase, glass walls, manicured driveways, and big promises about serene country living. Those promises wilted within days. I started getting visitors. First came a man in khakis and boat shoes, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Barnes, we'd like to offer you a generous buyout for your land. It's not zoned for residential use, you understand. It's disruptive." I looked him square in the eye. "It's zoned for agriculture. Livestock. Just like it's always been." He stammered something about community and growth, but I stopped listening. I walked him back to his car and pointed toward the sign I'd posted at the gate. "We don't wash off our roots here." Then came the lawyers. Letters with phrases like nuisance complaint and intentional obstruction. I sent them copies of the zoning codes, all highlighted in yellow. They didn't bother me after that. What surprised me most was how alive I felt again. I had a purpose. The animals needed feeding, the pens needed mucking, and the place needed upkeep. My hands grew calloused in new ways. I stopped counting the days. Every sunrise brought another layer of pig noise and another reason for Willow Ridge to regret ever laying eyes on Lone Cedar's grave. And yes, I thought of her. Lily. I imagined her sitting in some city cafe, sipping cold brew with people who called themselves creatives, boasting about her investment prowess. Did she even know what she'd done to me? To the land? Or had she already buried it in her mind, like it was just another chapter she'd outgrown? I didn't know. And I wasn't sure I cared to. But a part of me hoped the wind blew strong enough to reach whatever glass tower she was hiding in. That she'd catch a whiff one morning and pause, coffee halfway to her lips, wondering what that smell was. The smell of home. One evening, while I was pouring feed into the troughs, a young couple pulled up to the gate, city folks, by the look of him. He was wearing loafers. She had a baby on her hip. They waved awkwardly, eyes watering. "Is there anything you can do about the smell?" the man asked, trying to smile. I looked him over, clean, shiny, soft. "Nope," I said. "That's the smell of authenticity." He didn't get the joke. They turned back toward their car, faces drawn. That night, I sat on the porch of the trailer I now called home, watching the stars blink above the pig pen. I felt something that hadn't touched me in months, peace. Not happiness. Not satisfaction. Just stillness. Like I was standing on firm ground again, even if it wasn't the same soil I used to walk. They took my ranch. My daughter took me. But I still had this. A reminder carved into the land itself. A message written in muck and muscle. You don't get to rewrite where you come from. She came back in a car that didn't belong on country roads, low to the ground, sleek, silver like a fish out of water. I saw it coming from the ridge where I'd been fixing a busted water line, and I knew before I saw her face. My heart thudded slow and heavy, but I didn't move. I kept working, twisting the wrench tighter, until the sound of her heels clicking on gravel reached my ears. "Dad." I stood up slowly. Looked at her. She wore the city on her like a second skin. Tight black pants, expensive jacket, not a speck of dirt on her. Her hair was straight, makeup clean. Her expression wasn't. It was torn, tied around the eyes. She looked like someone bracing for a slap. "You gonna say anything?" she asked, arms folded. I wiped my hands on a rag and shrugged. "You're the one who's got something to say." She blinked, as if she hadn't expected me to meet her like that, dry-eyed and solid. "You built a pig farm," she said flatly, "next to the development. You knew what that would do." "That land was available," I said. "Didn't see your name on it." She scoffed, took a few angry steps toward the fence, staring past me at the pens. The pigs grunted like backup singers. "Do you hate me that much?" That hit different. Her voice cracked on the word hate. I watched her face, searching for the daughter I once cradled in the middle of the night, the little girl who used to ride on my shoulders through wheat fields. I saw her, but through a pane of glass I couldn't break anymore. "I don't hate you, Lily," I said quietly. "I just don't forget." She turned away then, walking in circles like her anger had nowhere to land. "I did what I had to do," she said finally. "That place was dying. You couldn't see it, but I did. The taxes were eating you alive. The house was falling apart, and you refused to change anything. And so your answer, I said, stepping closer, was to lie, trick me, sign my name, and sell the only thing your mother and I ever built together. She flinched. You never let me in, Dad. After Mom died, you shut down. You buried yourself in that land like it was a coffin and left me to figure everything else out alone. My jaw clenched. You were my whole damn world, Lily. You think I knew how to raise you without her? I did the best I could. She wiped her eyes, furious at herself for crying. I was drowning, she whispered. And you acted like hard work was the only answer. I couldn't breathe in that house. So you cashed out, I said, and threw me overboard to keep yourself afloat. Her eyes locked on mine then, angry, sad, exhausted. I didn't think you'd fight back. You never fought me. You just gave up. I looked around at the pigs, the fencing, the patched-up barn. Looks like I remembered how. She nodded slowly, as if cataloging the man in front of her. A new man. Or maybe just the one she never bothered to know. She reached into her purse and pulled out a letter-fancy envelope, thick paper. Held it out. What's this? I asked, not taking it. I cease and desist, she said. From the developer. They're losing money. Investors are pulling out. I chuckled, low and bitter. Good. Dad, you're ruining lives over a principle. No, I said. I'm preserving a truth. You don't get to erase people for profit. Not here. Not me. She dropped the envelope on the ground, like it burned her hand. I thought I could fix things by moving forward. But you'd rather burn it all down. I stepped past her, picked up the letter, and held it out to her again. You want to fix something? Start by calling it what it is. You betrayed me. Say it out loud. She stared at me, lips tight, then turned and walked back to her car. She didn't look back. That night, I sat on the porch with a bottle of whiskey and the letter unopened on the table beside me. The pigs snorted in their sleep. The stars blinked cold and indifferent. She came home and left again in the same breath. And this time, I didn't watch her go. It didn't take long for the town to split like a dry plank under too much weight. Some folks nodded at me a little too proudly in the grocery store parking lot, like I was their secret champion. Others looked at me like I'd gone and pissed in the town well. The local paper ran a front-page story, The Smell of Resistance. One man's pig farm stops luxury development in its tracks. They even snapped a photo of me leaning on the fence, arms crossed, a pig in the background hamming it up. I became a symbol, and I hated that. I didn't do any of this to make a point for anyone else. I did it because I had nothing left but land and pride. But people love to pick sides, and soon my phone rang with all kinds of voices, some cheering, some threatening, all trying to stake a claim in a fight they didn't understand. Then came the petition. A group of Willow Ridge buyers, young couples mostly, folks from out of state, started circulating a formal request to have my farm shut down. They cited odor pollution, intentional sabotage, and my personal favorite, aggressive livestock behavior. I posted a copy of it on my barn wall and underlined intentional in red. The county council scheduled a public hearing. That night, I shaved for the first time in weeks, pulled on my cleanest flannel, and drove to town. The room was packed, developers in suits, concerned citizens, my old neighbors, even a few teenagers who came for the drama. I stood at the podium, cleared my throat, and said, I raised my daughter here, buried my wife on a hill overlooking our pasture. I worked this land when it cracked in the heat and when it froze to stone. I didn't ask for a fight. I didn't ask to be betrayed. But I'm here now, and I'm not leaving. The room was quiet. Then someone clapped. Then more. But not everyone. I caught the glare of a man in a branded polo, whispering to his lawyer. Afterward, a woman in her 50s came up to me. I remembered her from the diner. Always had a kind word, good tipper. She touched my arm and said, I don't know what happened with your daughter, Hank, but I'm sorry. This town lost something when that land changed hands. You reminded us. That stuck with me. But not all reminders were kind. Lily called again. First time in weeks. This time, I answered. You're winning, she said. Are you proud of yourself? No, I replied. I'm surviving. You ought to try it without stabbing people in the back. She sighed. You've made your point. They want to walk away. There's talk of pulling the whole project. You've cost me more than you'll ever know. That stung more than I thought it would. Not because I cared about her money, but because she still didn't understand what she'd cost me. You know what I miss most? I said. Sundays. You and your mom making pancakes in the kitchen. Her humming while you spilled batter on the floor. I'd give every acre back just to have that again. There was silence on the other end. Then she said, I can't undo it. I know. Another pause. Then she whispered, I didn't know how to stay. Not after she died. I thought if I moved fast enough, far enough, I wouldn't have to feel any of it. I let the silence hang there like a shared burden neither of us could carry anymore. Lily, I said finally, you don't owe me money. You don't owe me the ranch. But you do owe me the truth. Next time you come here, come as my daughter. Not a seller. Not a lawyer. Just my kid. She didn't reply. Just hung up. I stood there a long time after, phone still in my hand. Pigs rustling in the dark behind me. Maybe that's all I'd ever get. A sliver of honesty through a cracked line. But it was enough to remind me I wasn't just fighting her anymore. I was finally standing up for me. The air got colder in October. The kind of cold that bites through denim and turns breath to smoke. The pig pen held the stink like a badge now. Thicker in the mornings, lingering into dusk. Folks didn't come by as much anymore. The developer had packed up weeks ago, pulled their billboards and demo trailers in the night like thieves ashamed of what they couldn't steal. Where luxury homes were supposed to rise, there were now only bare concrete pads and patches of grass clawing their way back. I walked those lots sometimes, not with pride, but with quiet curiosity. You could almost hear the ghosts of blueprints whispering through the wind. Dreams that never belonged here in the first place. Lily hadn't come back. Not physically, at least. Her absence had settled into the soil now, permanent and quiet. I didn't check my phone anymore. I didn't need another voicemail where her voice sounded like a stranger's. The last one had been short. She said she was moving again. Somewhere farther, somewhere with less baggage. She wished me well. She didn't say goodbye. I never opened her cease and desist letter. I burned it in the barrel out back one night, along with some old feed invoices and a crate of dried-out hay. Watched it curl and vanish. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like cleaning. The pigs kept me busy. I added more fencing, started selling pork to a few local restaurants. It was honest work. Loud, filthy, rooted in sweat. But it was mine. Entirely mine. No signatures but my own. No empty promises. No family name turned into a footnote. Every once in a while, someone would ask if I missed her. They didn't mean to pry. Just small-town curiosity mixed with that good old-fashioned hope that all wounds close if you ignore them long enough. I'd say, of course I miss her. Because I did. But I didn't miss the lies she told with her smile. I didn't miss the way she made me feel like a relic in my own home. I missed her. The version that danced barefoot in the barn with her mama's scarf tied around her head. The little girl who used to sing off-key and bring me dandelions like they were gold. That version of her died a long time ago, and I had to stop mourning someone who wasn't coming back. I started writing again, just little notes, thoughts. One afternoon, I pinned a letter to Lily. Didn't mail it. Just folded it up and left it in the drawer of my nightstand. It read, Lily, if you ever wonder what that smell is, on your coat, in your hair after a visit, it's not just pigs. It's truth. It's where you come from. It's what raised you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect visits. But if you ever decide to come back, not to take, not to change, just to sit for a while, I'll be here. And there'll be a plate of food and a chair that's still got your name on it. Love, always, Dad. The day I finished that letter, I sat on the porch at dusk, feet up, a glass of bourbon in hand. The pigs rustled and snorted behind me. Somewhere off in the hills, a coyote howled. The sky went orange, then indigo. The air smelled of earth, wood smoke, and yes, manure. And for the first time in months, I breathed it all in and smiled. Because that smell? That was the smell of home. If this story gripped you, made you think twice about loyalty, or reminded you of the weight family choices can carry, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more raw, emotional tales like this, and share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. More stories of betrayal, resilience, and reckoning are on the way. See you soon in the next one.